Hello everyone and welcome to What's Up Wednesdays. Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of What's Up Wednesdays, a weekly video series to talk entrepreneurial advice for startups, travel tips and hacks, and overall motivational advice to get you through your week. My name is Hannah, and this week I'm covering the single most important factor to keep yourself safe no matter what situation you come across. I find this topic very near and dear to my heart because I'm so big on self-love, self-awareness, both mental and physical health. All of it bundles together to make yourself the most well-rounded you can be. So I'm not going to focus this week on why self-awareness is important because we already know why it's important. It keeps everything in check, it keeps you balanced, etc. This week I really want to talk about the downsides or some examples of times when my self-awareness was not high and what the end result was. What lessons I ultimately ended up learning from the mistakes I made, and why I feel like self-awareness is just so important to be in tune and how it can really keep you safe. I would say overall my self-awareness started becoming more in tune within the last 3 to 4 years. First it started with just physical health and eating the best way. I had to really try out a lot of different fads and diet trends and different types of eating, cycling through eating all plant-based or eating lots of protein, lots of carbs, etc. Trying all the different fads. Everything in the book, I tried it. And I realized, generally I eat the best and feel the best when I'm somewhere around the paleo scale. I eat a very Mediterranean diet now, and I eat primarily plant-based with a little bit of fish. So that worked out the best for me. But I had to try all these different combinations and different eating styles to figure out what worked the best. The reason that I bring up eating styles is because I've really taken a step back from alcohol and other substances, just because I know that it's just not good for me, especially in large quantities, and it can be easy to get wrapped up in hanging out with friends and just having a good time. But it sets me back so many days that it's just not worth it. And because I have that self-awareness so high, I know that putting those sort of things into my body is going to dramatically affect the way that I can be aware of my surroundings. And that comes down to my safety in the end. Food, alcohol, substances, or otherwise, paying attention to what goes into my body and the way that I output different energy and the way that I react has made my self-awareness so much higher. And it does come down to my safety because I want to know if I have an allergen to something. I want to know that I'm going to be safe with the people that I'm around and that I can defend myself if I get into a dangerous situation. So paying attention to that makes my self-awareness so much higher, and it makes me active and function the best possible that I can. So regardless of what situation I'm in, I'm feeling my best, I'm able to be active and fully aware, and I can function the best possible way. Another really good example of paying attention to that self-awareness is, when you're doing physical activity or going to regular doctor's checkups. In both cases, it's all about keeping yourself physically safe and physically tuned up, and not overworking things, or not trying to prevent yourself from doing those check-ins just because it might be a little uncomfortable. I'm not a huge fan of going to the gym all the time, but I do know the importance of working out a few times a week, and I know the importance of taking on exactly the amount of weight that I can handle. I've been in situations at the gym where I put too much weight on the weight rack, or I don't do an exercise properly, and my body feels it. I accrue more tears and unnecessary injuries. And, I think the difference is, I might overdo it a day or two, but I know to not, do that much weight the next time, or to not do so many reps, to actually look up the exercises in advance so I can know that I'm doing it in proper form. This is very important with rock climbing. It's a hobby that I really love to do, and I know my limits. I'm not going to climb a route that is way above my skill level. And I'm not going to get onto a top wall without double checking my harness 3 or 4 times and making sure I do the right knots. So your self-awareness comes down to everything that you interact with and the places that you put yourself in. If I go to the gym for future and I do accrue an injury, I'm not going to try to overdo it and try to prove to myself that I'm strong and can handle it. If I'm injured, then I'm injured. I need to take the time to recover and fully repair those muscles and make sure that I have a good post-workout routine so I can be strong the next time. And if I try a move on the rock wall and I fall, or I don't have proper form and I can't make the next move to finish the route, then I can think about ways that I can do it differently and improve my skill level so I can get it the next time. Self-awareness with your physical health and the hobbies and activities that you do, it affects the way that you function overall, and having that high self-awareness can prevent injuries from occurring unnecessarily. I don't want to spend a week or 2 at home nursing a sore ankle because I did too much weights. Or I don't want to fall on my back at the climbing gym because I did a route that was above my skill level and now I have a back injury. Things like that can actually happen, and it's very scary if you try to push your limits too far or try to prove that you're strong enough to do it when you are not quite at that level. It comes down to meeting yourself where you're at. Meeting certain goals of how you eat and how you work out. Just be honest with yourself of where you're at and don't try to push things too far. Be gentle with yourself as you're trying to work through some things and to develop that self-awareness. It does take time, and so like I said, I've been working on this for 3 or 4 years, distinctly where I know that I have been really trying to tap in and figure things out, and it really does change a lot. So stepping out of the physical realm of things, I want to talk about the downsides of not being aware when it comes to your mental health or the way that your body feels overall. In the past, I've had certain medical things come up, and it's a scary thing to think about. We don't want to think about, being diagnosed with something that's uncurable, or to have to deal with some kind of a surgery or anything like that. And I've gone through moments where I want to put off that doctor's appointment. I don't want to get that bad news, or I don't want to know for certain if something is good or not, just because I know that when I go there, I'm going to be anxious. I'm going to have to spend some money. I might have to take a medication. I don't want to have to deal with any of that. But if we don't do those check-ins, things can get so much worse. So being self-aware of your health and the way that your body feels is so crucial. So if you did accrue an injury at the gym, or something just doesn't set right within your body, taking those preventative measures can prevent things from happening in the future, and just prolonging a problem only makes it worse. Think about all of the cases of cancer patients that maybe wouldn't have had the same result if they got checked up sooner. Or think about that minor, swollen ankle that turned into a sprain or a fractured foot because it wasn't cared for properly. It seems silly to put off things that we could take advantage of, putting off preventative measures and doing daily checkups. Just spending mindful time every day to check in with yourself and see how your body is feeling. The more fine-tuned we can be about where exactly we're at, the better we are in the long run. It prevents, those illnesses or further, diseases or things like that from developing into something very serious. Especially now more than ever, if there are any sort of symptoms of what's happening with COVID and with the way that the world is going right now, it is so crucial that you're transparent and honest with yourself. If you're not feeling 100, you're not feeling 100. It's okay to sit down and take a break, to spend some time at home just healing yourself and making sure that you're good to go. That's like having, if you had a persistent cough for a few days, that's not normal. That's not something you want to keep putting off and not figuring out what's going on. Just the other day, my mom had some bizarre bruises that came out of nowhere. So that's something to be mindful of, to keep a look at for the next day or so. And if it doesn't get better, it's important to get some answers of why that's happening. So in previous times when I didn't want to go to the doctor or face the daunting task of finding out answers if something would be wrong with me, in the end I go anyway because I know that I need to know exactly what's going on with my body. And for future, I want to know myself so well that I can pinpoint exactly what's wrong, where it's going wrong, what I ate that day or what sort of exercise I did, what sort of water I'm intaking, who I was around. All of that plays into effect of how well I'm functioning overall and what my health looks like. So talking specifically on how our self-awareness can keep us safe, both, the things I've already talked about with the way you eat, the way you exercise, and doing our daily checkups to make sure that our health is in check. The next step is to externally analyze our environment and to be self-aware of our surroundings. In our digital world, we are so distracted by our phones. They're in our hand at all times. We have access and it draws our attention almost every minute, but it also prevents us from fully seeing what's around us, from fully living. I'll notice sometimes I'm driving, doing my commute, doing my side jobs and things like that, and all of a sudden I'm at my destination and I don't really have a conscious awareness of how I got there. Obviously, I'm driving safely, I'm not getting any wrecks, and I'm not driving distracted. But those times when your brain just sort of shuts off and goes into zombie mode. This happens when I do get on my phone and I scroll for a little bit. Or, when I just try to not think about the traffic. But I would rather pay attention to my surroundings and the cars around me and what people are doing on the sidelines, what people are doing out walking about and seeing the animals, around. I would much rather be aware of what happened from point A to B than just blindly driving and not paying attention. I want to actually live and not just live on my screen and kind of zone out on whatever's happening on something digital. So your self-awareness is not just about what you're consuming internally. It's about what happens outside of that as well. Checking into your external environment and actually paying attention to what's happening. This comes down to another, way to keep yourself safe. So if I'm in an environment where I don't feel comfortable, then I'm going to say something. I don't have to stay in a place where I don't feel safe or where I feel a little bit unsure. I'm not going to put myself in a situation where I feel like my life is at risk. And not being aware can really put your life at risk. It can put you in situations that could be very serious. And there have been times when I was in a place where things could have gone south really quickly. I'm very fortunate that I have not been in a situation where my life was threatened, but I know a lot of people who have, and not everyone in other places have that sort of luxury or that sort of privilege. So it's very important to not take that for granted, to not be on our phones at all times, to actually pay attention to who's out and about, to wave to our neighbors, pay attention to the cars driving by and the people that are out and about and walking, being mindful of pedestrians and being mindful of the environments that we put ourselves in. If something doesn't feel just right, your intuition's going to tell you. And when your self-awareness is high, you're going to be able to dissect that very quickly and kind of gain that insight in advance. So you might have heard the term clairvoyance or seeing without seeing. When you are self-aware of your surroundings and the environment around you and just awake to what's actually happening, you get this insight of being able to see without seeing. So sometimes I get this intuition where I just know the outcome of a situation before it even arises. Or I'm in a place where I'm, before even stepping foot into a building, I can already tell that it's not going to be a good spot. That's not going to be good for me. And I don't have to see how it unravels to know that. I just use that intuition, and I am so, keen on my self-awareness being high that I can dissect things without even, knowing what's going on. That ultimately is the scariest danger with not having high self-awareness, is not fully living. If we're solely diving into our digital world and not paying attention to our external environment, we're missing out on living. We're missing out on life. You know, it is about all the uncomfortable moments and the process of figuring out how best to feed ourselves and how best to work out, how best to care for our bodies. You know, we only get one. So as far as we know, we've got to do the best we can do, because this is all we got. So if we are truly trying to make our self-awareness as high as possible, we're able to live a life fully, you know, to the max. And I think that that is the biggest life goal. At least for me, I want to live to my very best every single day. I do notice too, when I have that high self-awareness that is fully in tune, I have such strong intuition, and it just makes every day so much more meaningful. My final words for you all is to think critically about where your self-awareness is at. Do you know yourself that well inside and out? Are you paying attention to your environment, or is everything online digitally? You know, where exactly are you at? You know, what do you think about things? What do you feel about things? What's going on in the world around you? Are you taking an active role? When you are, life just flows so much more smoothly, and I really do think this is a great way to keep yourself safe no matter what, because when your health is in check, you're active, you're as best as you can be, you're aware of your surroundings, you're untouched. Thank you all so much for tuning in this week. I hope you did enjoy this message. If you caught our video last week, I talked about the 3 most important factors of where our energy can be drawn to and how we can react to it in a positive way. So that kind of ties in this week with self-awareness overall, because where our energy goes, that's where our awareness is drawn to. It does go hand in hand. If you did have any topic suggestions, or you know, there's something on your heart that you would like me to talk about, shoot us a message or an email. I would love to hear from you. As always, tune into our social channels for any updates regarding new alt venture kits. These are fully planned day trips that we have been calling ahead and making sure they're safe and open for people to go to. So if you're itching to go outside, just make sure you do it in the safest way as possible. Thank you all so much for tuning in. It really does help to grow our audience and to reach people that might need to hear this message too. So if you did enjoy it, I would really appreciate any likes or shares and positive feedback about this video and what you thought of it. Thank you all again, and I hope you have a wonderful and safe rest of your week. We will see you next time. Bye for now. A few cars, and then I'm gonna wrap it up. If there's cars in the background, I can't really help it. They're not super loud.